What's up, lads and ladettes? ActualLad57 here, and welcome back to another episode of Talking Ball. And in this episode, we will be reviewing the weekend's FA Cup quarter-final action. And it was a bit of a painful weekend, being a Man United fan, getting knocked out by Leicester City on Sunday evening, afternoon, evening, whatever. And it was painful. But we'll start with the very first game of the weekend, which was Bournemouth versus Southampton. And Southampton ended up winning 3-0. And it was pretty much a comfortable performance by Southampton. They did hit a bit of a rough patch in the last couple of months, but they're starting to find their feet again. They're getting players back from injury. And I think it was a very good performance by Ralph Hasenhüttl's men. They are a good side when they've got, when they've got their players fit and firing and available. Nathan Redmond was absolutely brilliant on the weekend, and I think Southampton just showed Bournemouth, what the levels are. As you probably know, Bournemouth got relegated last season down to the Championship. They lost a couple of key players, Callum Wilson, Ryan Fraser, Nathan Ake. I think in January they also lost Josh King. So they did suffer both, financially and in terms of their squad depth and squad quality by going down to the Championship. And I think Southampton were just a very good side, a much better side, and played very well on the day. Southampton are a good side. I remember when they were flying, I know they lost to Man City 1-0, but I remember watching that game, and I remember in the last few minutes Kevin De Bruyne having to go into the corner and waste a bit of time to consolidate that 1-0 win. Against Man United as well at St Mary's, they went 2-0 up. And it was a second half masterclass by Edson Cavani to come back and win that game. So they're a good side that cause some top teams a lot of difficulties when they're fit and firing and in full form. But ultimately it was just an easy 3-0 victory away from home for Southampton, and they have booked themselves a spot in the FA Cup semi-final. Next game was Manchester City versus Everton at Goodison Park, and it was a bit of a strange game because Man City did what Man City does best. They dictated the game, they controlled the tempo of it, and any side that are going to come up against Manchester City, they are going to have to defend for large periods of the game out of possession, and they are going to have to live off moments. I thought Everton, they set up off the ball in sort of like a 5-2-1-2, standard Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin up front, and I thought for the most part they restricted Man City to just possession, which may sound like a strange thing to say, but they didn't, for large parts of the game, they didn't really have too many shots on their goal. The 21-year-old third-choice keeper for Everton, João Virginia, he didn't really have much to do until, for large parts of the game, until the last sort of 15 minutes where Man City really piled on the pressure. And Man City are just a great side. They really are. They won 2-0, and in the end it was relatively comfortable. Everton were living off moments. They had a couple of pot shots. They had, got the ball further forwards where they tried to make something out of a long throw or out of a corner. But ultimately Zach Steffen in goal for Manchester City didn't have much to do, and it was relatively comfortable. And unfortunately Man City progress into the semi-finals of the FA Cup, and they are still on for the quadruple, which is such a scary thing for a Man United fan, because the last thing you want is your rivals winning the quadruple, or even the treble. I know they won the domestic treble a couple of years ago, but they haven't got the proper treble like we did in '99. But yeah, comfortable performance by Manchester City, and they're into the semi-finals. Third game of the weekend of the full quarter-final matches was Chelsea against Sheffield United, and on paper it should have been an easy win for Chelsea. You know, they're 14. They were coming into this game 13 games unbeaten under Thomas Tuchel since he arrived and took over from Frank Lampard in January. And you know, on paper it should have been easy, but Sheffield United fought valiantly. You know, I think it's a foregone conclusion now that they're going to get relegated into the Championship. They're sitting at the bottom of the table, you know, many points adrift from safety, and I think FA Cup was a chance to, you know, fight for their pride and fight for an opportunity to go to Wembley. But unfortunately they lost 2-0. An own goal from fuck knows who, I can't remember who it was, one of the Sheffield United defenders, Norwood I think it was, and a late goal from Chelsea to consolidate that win in extra time of the second half, in injury time, sorry. And you know, Chelsea won comfortably. Thomas Tuchel still unbeaten into the semi-finals, and where they will be playing Manchester City. And I think it was comfortable for the most part. You know, Sheffield United had a 15-20 minute spell in the second half where they did really put on the pressure, but ultimately Chelsea's quality told. Chelsea's defensive organisation under Thomas Tuchel, you know, setting up with a back three. I think Chelsea thoroughly deserved the win, and they march on into the semi-finals against Manchester City. Now on to the fourth and final game of the weekend, and it was Leicester City 3, Manchester United 1. And truth be told, Leicester City completely deserved that win. They were sharper than us in pretty much all areas, and they were better than us both on the ball and off the ball. Their pressing was incredible for most of the game. You know, it just didn't go right for Manchester United, and as much as you need to criticise, you know, individual performances, I thought Matic was poor, Fred was poor, most of the team were poor as well. Harry Maguire, Lindelof, they were all shocking yesterday. But you have to give equal praise to Leicester City, in particular Youri Tielemans and Wilfred Ndidi, who just stopped Manchester United completely. You know, their press was brilliant, their passing on the ball was fantastic. Wilfred Ndidi with some brilliant tackles to just stop Manchester United attacks in the bud, and it was comfortable. It was comfortable, unfortunately, for Leicester City, and they booked their place in the semi-finals against Southampton. The draw was made at half-time, and you'd think, you know, Man United didn't play well in the first half, but we managed to get into the half-time with the score at 1-1, and we thought, right, now time to kick on. But unfortunately that wasn't the case. Some sloppy play from Fred for that first goal. You know, just passing it to Iheanacho and giving him an easy tap in to take around the goalkeeper, and an easy tap in from 2-3 yards out. Second goal, again, no pressure from the midfield on Youri Tielemans. He was allowed to pick up the ball in midfield and drive 20-30 yards and unleash a strike. And it was just poor all round for Manchester United. You know, potential reasons could be fatigue. You know, I think since the beginning of the season, Man United have only had 5 days or more between games, 5 times. And you know, we've been playing pretty much every midweek since the start of the season. You know, us, Manchester City and Wolves all had the shortest pre-season, and ultimately fatigue and and the lack of quality caught up to us. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer deserves a bit of criticism with both the formation and the personnel. I think he potentially over-rotated a little bit too much. You know, Donny van der Beek hasn't played for ages. Paul Pogba came back from injury, and again, I know he took him off, but it was shocking to see him start. Mason Greenwood was probably one of the better players, but again, ineffective. Matic, Fred, poor. Martial, poor. And ultimately it was just a shocking performance all round. But congratulations to Leicester. They booked their place in the semi-finals of the FA Cup, where they will be playing Southampton, and Manchester City will be playing Chelsea in the other semi-final. And it's going to be tough. I think it's fair to say Leicester will progress against Southampton. I think they're a far better side. And the Chelsea Man City game, it's going to be interesting. You know, I don't like either side, but to stop Man City from potentially winning the quadruple, I'll probably be rooting for Chelsea in that. And it's going to be interesting to see who will lift that FA Cup trophy at the end of the season. But that was the review for the FA Cup quarterfinals this weekend, and I will see you next time. Peace.